Clark, Indiana Fever. My. The awards just keep coming and coming and coming. Caitlin Clark has now been awarded Associated Press AP Female Athlete of the Year. And this one here is a story that just keeps going and going and going. There's no doubt about it. Caitlin Clark now has been named the Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year. And when you look at it, and Money Mike always will tell you, pictures say 1,000 words. The award has been given to Caitlin Clark, and that goes on top of the Time Magazine Award that's been given to Caitlin Clark, and continuing down the historic career of Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. It's been a fascinating year, and throughout it all, still standing in the test of time. Caitlin Clark, again, has been from first team All WNBA, WNBA All Star, also being named Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, and now the Associated Press Athlete of the Year. And the award won't end. They're going to keep coming. And what was really interesting throughout all of this is you look at Caitlin and how she's handled it, kind of what she's done with it, and where she see it going, and how she looked at it, and rightfully so. Caitlin Clark stepped right into it and said, "You know what? I've earned it. And you know what? Yeah, there could be white privilege, and you got to look at how she said it. Well, I mean, and she said it in a context. Yeah, there could be white privilege, or there couldn't be white privilege. I think my game stands for itself. I think I'm good enough to play in the WNBA, and I think the WNBA has to recognize that, and I think all the players in the WNBA have recognized it as well. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast, and we're coming to you. Caitlin Clark, excuse me, has struck again, has won another award, and is marching down victory lane. There's no doubt about it. Now, here's what struck me, and I want to move a little bit further because, you know, you got Caitlin, and I ran across some. I started looking at Nike, and everybody's been on Nike and riding Nike out pretty hard, right? And I started saying, well, what? You know what? Nike has had a tough year. And, in 2023, I mean, the gross profit of Nike was about $22 billion, folks. You're talking about big numbers coming across the board. And you looked at the profit structure, and I kind of started digging through the tape, and I said, wow, okay, Nike's down in stock value, but Caitlin Clark's in the earnings call. And you look at Nike's growth from 216, $32 billion, getting up there to just 222, 46 billion. I think they're capping in at $55 billion in revenue, right? And you got Caitlin Clark. Now, here's what I'm going to tell everybody, because you've seen a lot of contracts get signed, and you've seen a lot of them get signed just recently. I mean, the contracts have been flying off the shelf, right? You got a lot of sponsorship deals that are flying off the shelf. You got Paige Buchers gets a signature contract, no doubt about it. You got Juju Watkins, Paige has played just a lot. You got Asia Wilson's just got a brand new Nike contract. And of course, you got Angel Reese has got a Reebok contract, right? And so where am I all going with this? Is Caitlin Clark the Time Athlete of the Year? Folks, you got to get ready for the big bang that's coming your way. And when I say clear the deck, I'm going to make an assumption that Caitlin Clark signed a Nike contract, 8 years, about $28 million. Well, you know what? If you ever seen the movie Draft Day, and it was really good, Kevin Costner, he says, there's a scene in there where they were making a trade, and they said, you know what? Yeah, we live in a different world now than we did, a couple seconds ago. And so if you get right down to it, and why do I say it's a different world? You started out with Asia Wilson and Angel Reese, but the real, and Money Mike's going to give it to you straight, the real rivalry that's coming your way is going to be Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins, right? They're going to match them up, and Nike is sitting there in an earnings call. When you get your name, Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark, mentioned in an earnings call, that's letting the shareholders know, and that's what they wanted to hear, that what's going on with Caitlin, and when are we going to start making this $1 billion back that we lost under the previous CEO, right? But the real rivalry, okay, and you look at it when you get your name mentioned in the earnings call. Let me tell you why it's important. And this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. We'll always share how you can make more money. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily at an individual level. Yeah, you can be sole proprietor. But when I talk about making more money, I'm talking about the women in the WNBA are about to make a gobload of money. I mean, it's unfathomable, right? Because you look at Nike, Nike brought in roughly, okay, the financier, their net global income amounted roughly, okay, $5.7 billion. When they mentioned the WNBA and Caitlin Clark in an earnings call, folks, you know what they just did? Okay, they are coming in there and they're saying the WNBA or these women are going to be roughly about 10%. 10% of $5.7 billion is about $570 million. Okay, and you got Stephen A saying, here's where the rivalry gets good between Juju and Killian, because this is the hand that if you were playing Texas Hold'em, and I know some of you fans out there, you know how to play Texas Hold'em. Money Mike loves it, teaches me all the tells, right? But you got one player was dealt aces and the other players dealt kings. And you got them both going all in, right? And so with Nike, they're looking at this thing going, wow, the real rivalry that we could really get on the deck. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be Magic and Bird, which will be, you got Juju coming right out of LA. Okay, you're coming right out of LA, just like Magic, right? So you got the destinations are right? She's in LA. And Stephen A was saying, well, they got to do everything for Juju that they did for Caitlin. Well, not necessarily, because Caitlin is in Indiana and Juju's in LA, and that's where they make all the commercials. So she has access to everything. But this rivalry, okay, I'm going to tell you about it. Now, I want to take you back. Some of the fans on here may not know, right? You had Larry Bird was originally given a scholarship to Indiana. And he walked in there and had a taste of Bobby Knight and walked right out and said, you know what? You can have this. This is me, right? And so what does he do? The guy goes back out of nowhere and he goes to Indiana State. Now, who does that? Like, who goes to Indiana, legendary coach Bob Knight, right? So you did on top of that, you got Magic's over at Michigan State. And these two, Magic had won everything, no problem. But they were battling back and forth. And this rivalry, okay, the courtship, if you haven't seen it, it's called a courtship of rivals between Magic and Bird. So what do I mean? You got Juju and Caitlin are literally staring each other in the eye. Now, here's the thing. You got some, like an Asia Wilson, you got some people in there. Well, when Bird came into the league, you could see it right here. I mean, a picture says 1,000 words. You got Bird has got Julius Erving, the ambassador of the NBA, by the throat. And you got Julius Erving's got Larry Bird, Indiana, French Lick, Indiana, by the throat. But Larry Bird was, he's a scrapper. He didn't care, right? He walked into this thing. I don't care who you are. And this is where Caitlin is. I don't care who you are, right? She's like, if we're gonna play, let's just scrap it out. And this rivalry, now you'll get in there, and there's gonna get some other players that are gonna get involved, because I've never seen two people go at it in a lifetime the way I saw Bill Laimbeer and Larry Bird. I mean, they literally hated each other, right? They hated each other to the gold tee, right? But that's kind of where it's going. Here's the other funny thing I found out too, and I wanted to share this with the fans. And again, I'm a Caitlin Clark fan, and there's no doubt. And where I'm going with this is, you're going to take everybody's contract that they put together. I want you to take Asia Wilson. I want you to take Paige Buchers. I want to take Nescu. I want you to put all those contracts together, and that's what's going to be the amount of Caitlin's contract from Nike. Folks, that contract, Nike wants a lifetime contract with Caitlin Clark. Okay, they don't want to negotiate anymore. They want to go a lifetime where Caitlin, you can have up to 8 to 10 signature shoes, and this is a global presence. This is Bill Elliott's $1 billion baby right here. This is the one that when you get your name mentioned in an earnings call, And the major shareholders, I always tell you, when you get your name mentioned in a shareholder call, and the major shareholders, the duty and responsibility of Elliott is to take care of the shareholders. And they are like, where is Colton? Where is Caitlin Clark? Because we lost over $1 billion, and Caitlin Clark has now become Nike's $1 billion baby. Okay. And that's the contracts going out. I looked at that and I said, oh, 28 million. It's just like Pet Roy had said, Barstool. They undervalued that contract, but at the same time, they're adding more money. And what do you need, Caitlin? Now, here's the goodness of it, because the previous CEO had wanted to go back into the merchandise of previous years. So you got Caitlin wearing the Kobe's, okay, and that's a good brand to wear, and that's a good brand to be associated with the Mamba, right? So you got something special until they get it, but this is $1 billion operation, and folks, I'll tell you this thing's gonna get good no matter how you look at it. But the real Magic and Bird rivalry, you want to talk about a courtship? You want to talk about two people that got together in the real rivalry? The real rivalry is going to be Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins. And they're clearing that deck. It wouldn't surprise me if Juju Watkins was allowed into the WNBA, okay, and was allowed to go under, which I'm a big fan of. Other people might not be a fan of it, but I'm a big time fan of it. And that's Steve Ballmer. I think the league can really benefit from Ballmer, because when you get to Steve Ballmer, you're talking about a lot of money, and you have the stadium, the deck is clear. But Caitlin Clark, you're talking about being mentioned in an earnings call. You're looking at Nike's revenue annually is $55 billion. Okay. Nike's global net income amounted to roughly $5.7 billion. And I'm telling you, Caitlin's going to account for quite a bit of that. And they're ready to go. They've got the conglomerate or partnership. They got Foot Locker. So this thing is going, and they need one other match in comparison, and that's going to be Juju Watkins. And that's why I tell you, Juju Watkins belongs in L.A., okay? They understand that. That's a big applicant pool down in L.A., and you get Juju in L.A., you get Caitlin Clark down there in Indiana, okay, and you got Bird, Lambier. They're all going to fight it out. I mean, Caitlin's still got a lot of work to do because she's got a battle, but that real rivalry, okay, Nike's $1 billion baby, they're going to bring them all together. And Nike, that's what they do. They bring all their top athletes together. But the real rivalry, okay, you want to talk about the Magic and Bird? That's Caitlin and Juju. And that rivalry there is going to take this game to heights nobody has seen before and nobody was even expecting. But you needed two people that can carry it, that can face off, play the same position. Now the Indiana Fever fans, folks, let me let you on a little secret here. And because I know a lot of times people talk about the WNBA and how the WNBA hates Caitlin Clark and how they don't like her. They don't like what she does. They don't like all the attention and everything Caitlin gets, right? So I started looking at it, and I got something I'll tell you guys. This is like being an attorney, and when your attorney gets contacted that you got on retainer, and it's like Caitlin Clark's attorney gets contacted. Hey, we're going to sue you. Da, da, da. Get in line. Folks, let me tell you, get in line. You know how long the line of people that hate Caitlin Clark, not from the standpoint of hate Caitlin as a person. This has nothing to do with a person. They hate Caitlin as a basketball player. I look back and I start looking at reactions. Do you know they hated Caitlin in high school? They hated to play against hate. Do you know? And I'm going to walk you down this thing of why Indiana and Iowa are the way they are. Do you know in high school they hated? Do you know the entire Big Ten hated Caitlin Clark? I mean, the fans and the other places, they couldn't stand her. Now, here's the thing. Here's a funny thing. And when you got Grace Berger on the same team, and Grace, I salute you. Okay. Do you know how much Indiana hated Iowa when Indiana and Iowa would play? They couldn't stand each other They couldn't stand each other. And they felt that Caitlin, Indiana University, right? Grace Berger talked about, like, God, geez, I mean, we couldn't get a call. We couldn't get anything to go our way. Everything went to Caitlin, right? So but for the sake of harmony, you've got two radical, fanatic fans. Not fans, but fanatic. Indiana basketball, come on, man. You didn't get it hotter than that. But you got Caitlin in there just whopping the Big Ten. I mean, whopping them across the face. I mean, and you talk about getting in fights. Now, Caitlin, you get her in a culture and a community, and you want to see her fight back, you got to go watch some of them old games. She's getting up, pushing people. She's like, get off me. I mean, Caitlin is really cleaned up a lot. I mean, she cleans up well to come into the WNBA, but I had to go back and look at some of that. You know what? Caitlin was a firecracker. I mean, it was like, and the Big Ten, Illinois, all those schools, nobody was a fan of Caitlin Clark. So when you get to the WNBA and you go, the WNBA fans don't like Caitlin Clark, let me tell you, as an attorney, get in line. Get in line. The line is about 10 miles long of people that doesn't like Caitlin Clark, all right? And, I mean, and you want to talk about relaxed high school coaches? Folks, go back and look at some film and look at Caitlin Clark's high school coaches. They're just as relaxed as they can be. And what's amazing is you look at Caitlin now, it looks like she's moving in full speed, right? But you watch her in high school, what was so funny, I mean, she's going really like in slow motion. But it's enjoyable, right? But guess what, folks? I'm just going to tell you, Caitlin Clark, the AP, that's right, Associated Press Player of the Year. No doubt about it, they're pushing that needle. Nike, no doubt. You know what? I'd recommend now, buy the stock. I'm not sitting here as an accredited investor, a Series 7 license. But when I got a stock that's down 25, 30%, and I look at the trajectory of what they did in the past years from 2016 blowing through, they took $32 billion worth of revenue and turned it into $55 billion. So, AP Player of the Year, it's one of many awards. And the awards are going to keep going because with Caitlin Clark, that's just how it rolls, folks. There's no other way to do it. You get a generational player. And Caitlin and Nike, the 8-year deal for $28 million, that thing's off the table. We live as draft day, Kevin Costner said, we live in a different world than just a few seconds ago. And Caitlin Clark's value has went up that much. Nike's stock is down 25 to 30%. Who's going to rebound that back to the top? That's Caitlin Clark. And you know what? The shareholders, as you got Elliot's got a duty and responsibility. Those shareholders, guess what? He's got to listen to them. And when you're down, he's got to bring it back up. And there's only one person that could do that. But you got the others. Everybody's got a contract. Paige got one. Juju's got equity. They're moving forward. Asia Wilson, you got hers. No doubt about it. Angel Reese, you got yours. Okay, but the big one, okay, that you can combine all those contracts together, that's Nike $1 billion baby, and that's Caitlin Clark. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We bringing it to you, but the rival, the real one, that's going to be Juju and Caitlin. And if you want to make it what it is, then make it what it is. But the real rivalry that's coming your way, the Magic and Bird, that's right. That's going to be Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins. Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're bringing it to you. Happy holidays. Let it do what it do. We'll see you soon. All things are possible to those who believe.